All right. Welcome, folks. People are starting to trickle in. Panelists, can you see the participant count? Awesome.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we'll just give a couple minutes to let folks get connected, and then we will go around and introduce our panelists, and then we'll start our slideshow. All right, so we're waiting on a couple more people. Just give it one more minute and then we'll get started with introductions. All right, so for folks who are joining, we have turned off the chat, but if you have a question, you can click on the Q&A button on the bottom and that will go to all the panelists. So if you have a question that you didn't ask in the form that you'd like to see addressed, take a chance to look at the Q&A and you can send a message to us to see if we can get to that at the end. So, all right, let's get started. I'll start by introducing myself. I think I've talked to a lot of you on this call, but my name is Hannah Chapeldick. I am one of the distance coaches here at Brown University and really excited to do our first recruiting webinar. So bear with us if there's some hiccups in the process, but we're really excited to share a little bit about Brown and definitely encourage all of you to reach out if you have further questions or want to chat. Hopefully this can be a two-way conversation in the future with you. But I'll pass on to Kurt to introduce himself a little bit.
Hey everyone, I'm Coach Kurt. Nice to chat with a lot of you. First time with a lot of you. Sometimes it's for some of you, it's nice to catch up with you again. Please don't be shy if you have any questions at all for either Hannah or myself, but probably more importantly for Haley, Duke, and Henry, as they can give you all the best answers and the best idea on what life is like at Brown. But please don't be shy, and yeah, looking forward to getting to know you all a little bit more tonight.
All right, panelists, do you want to introduce yourself? Maybe share a little bit about your academic interests and which events you run?
I can start. Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Friedman. I'm a senior from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I am on the distance team, and I run the 5K and the 6K. I am studying economics along the business economics track, and I'm also getting a certificate in entrepreneurship, which is Brown's equivalent of a minor. And I'm also just very passionate about public health, environmental policy, and just political science in general.
Hi all, my name is Duke Eugenio. I'm a 5th year on the team running cross country and distance, and I'm studying architecture, which is a combination program at Brown University. And I'm from Virginia as well.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Henry. I'm a freshman from New Jersey on the cross country team, and I run mid-D in track, so kind of like the 800 and the mile, but also still kind of figuring that out. So I'm down to try a lot of new things. Academically, I'm also like undecided, so still figuring that out as well. But I'm maybe leaning towards econ.
All right, so I am attempting to share screen. We're going to take you guys through a little PowerPoint that we've put together that serves as kind of a virtual visit. And at the end, we're going to move into the Q&A session, but we'll be sending out these slides. So feel free to, you don't have to take notes. We'll send them out to you after this webinar, as long as you registered on the link. If you didn't, shoot me an email and I can send them to you. So as you can see, here's some facts about Brown. It's a pretty big university, but it has a very small town feel. 5.4% acceptance rate. Definitely a lot higher if you apply at early decision, and we'll talk about that in the future. But one of the things I want to highlight on this slide is that we have 100% track and field graduation of all the student athletes who have been recruited for the track and field team in the last 10 years, which is really a testament to the amount of academic support that's available to folks. And so that's a really exciting statistic that not a lot of schools can boast about. So,
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about academics at Brown. As you can see, there's a lot of academic departments, a ton of courses that you have available to you. Over 2,000 courses, 40 academic departments. The most unique piece of Brown is the open curriculum by far, and we'll have Haley and Duke touch a little bit more on that here in a minute. Independent concentrations, that's also a little bit unique to Brown, both in the terminology and in the way that that's kind of broken up. As you can see, our 5 most popular majors: computer science, we've got a lot of CS athletes on the team; applied math, econ, Haley and Henry both in that area; biology, international relations, and public affairs. But one of the unique things really with Brown is the ability to kind of customize your concentration and your education to what really fits and interests you. So as we move on to the next couple slides, Haley and Duke will talk about that piece a little bit more for you guys.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Coach. So the open curriculum is a really unique aspect of Brown. So like it says here, there is no required core curriculum. So if you do not like science classes like me, I don't have to take chemistry, I don't have to take biology or any Spanish classes if I don't want to, which I haven't. And I can instead focus on the classes that I'm really passionate about, which are those econ, public health, and public policy classes. So for me, this is really important because I can not only explore my interests and do what I'm actually passionate about, but that also means that people who are in my classes generally want to be there. And it makes for really interesting discussions and really engaging sections in general. So every class that you take, like it says here, does count towards your degree. And there's also this really awesome emphasis on academic advising. And so when you are for me, in the economics department, I have an upperclassman advisor who has been helping me throughout my entire time here at Brown. We also get paired with professors when you're a freshman, and then you also get paired with a professor once you declare a concentration. And they're just two people who are really supportive of you throughout your experience at Brown. So the open curriculum is really unique, and it can be a little scary knowing that you have so many options to choose from. But then again, it's really incredible in that you can truly make your academic experience whatever it is that you want it to be.
Awesome. Yeah, and just to touch on the grading system and shopping period a little bit, our grading system at Brown is really low stress, and it's also really simple. Basically, if you get above a 60, it's a C, or sorry, above a 70, it's a C, above an 80, it's a B, above a 90, it's an A. If you don't get that, it doesn't show up on your transcript. And you also have the opportunity to take classes pass fail. And depending on your department, I think, so for example, in architecture, and I think this is consistent with most of the departments, as long as it's not a course that you're taking specifically for your concentration, then it's fine for you to take it pass fail. Shopping period is also a really wonderful component of Brown, where basically for the first 2 weeks of the semester, you have the opportunity to go into any class you want, and you can stay for 5 minutes or the whole class, or like really however you want to do it. And you can sort of understand what the professor's teaching style is like and ask questions. And there's a ton of flexibility, so you don't end up in a course that you're not interested in taking because you realize, oh, like the professor is not someone I'm interested in, or like even if there's sections, you get to say like, oh, I'm going to go to all 4 of these sections, and I'm going to pick the one that fits my schedule best and also has someone that maybe suits your learning style the best. And I actually had a really funny shopping period moment my freshman fall where I accidentally went into and shopped a Russian grad seminar, and I tried to leave really quickly, and the people that were in it were super friendly and welcoming, and they were like, no, like stay, see what happens. And I've gone through like a pretty significant portion of the Russian curriculum at Brown, and they're all some of my closest friends on campus. So sometimes the craziness of shopping period can really lead to some wonderful things.
So I can talk a little bit about the financial aid process. So as some of you might be aware of, the Ivy League as a whole does not offer academic or athletic scholarships, which is really unique to Division I. The good news is they do offer financial aid based on your economic need. And like this slide says, almost everybody receives some form of financial aid, whether that's loans, grants, work study, that kind of thing. And so we are need blind during admissions, which means that your admission won't be affected by the financial situation of your family. Brown really wants to make sure that an Ivy League education is available to anyone who is academically qualified. So we do have a financial aid calculator, and I'll send the link to the estimator for that financial aid calculator in the chat once we're finished sharing these slides. And there's definitely lots of opportunities for financial aid. So if that's something that you have questions about, let us know, but that's something that Brown does a really good job of making sure that the Ivy League degree is accessible to all. Okay, so now we begin the portion, which is kind of an informal campus tour. I know some of you have been on campus, but for those who haven't, these are just a couple pictures of some of the highlights around campus. It's a really beautiful campus, especially this time of year in the fall. All the leaves are starting to turn, so it's not quite this green. It's starting to be kind of a brilliant orange, and we're really excited about the next couple weeks. Providence is a medium-sized city, but it's very dense. So it kind of has, on this side of the river where Brown is, it has a very small town feel. But then if you cross the river into downtown Providence, which you can kind of see in the back of this picture, it does have a financial district that feels like a city. And I think my favorite part about living in Providence is the accessibility to all the major cities on the East Coast. There's a very easy Amtrak ride. It's only $8 and 40 minutes to drive or to ride the train right to the center of Boston, which is really exciting. And panelists, if you have anything to say during this campus tour, feel free to hop in. Yeah. So here's just a map in case you're not familiar with where Providence, Rhode Island is. So obviously here's the US and New England, and then finally Providence is in Northeast Rhode Island. And we're very proud to be in the smallest state. It's pretty fun to live in Rhode Island. There's a lot of great seafood. It's a very foodie area of the country, lots of maritime views. It's really beautiful, especially in the fall. Here's just a nice photo of the downtown Providence skyline. I just recently went to my first water fire, which is a Providence classic, and they light these big bonfires in the middle of the river that runs through town and play loud music and lots of food trucks. And it's a fun celebration that happens about once a month in the fall.
There's also sort of, hop back on that. Yeah, they also recently built a bridge over, so the highway 195 used to run through this portion of Providence, but they moved it, and the pylons that have the red lights are the old bridge foundations, and they just put a new pedestrian only bridge over that and have created parks on either side, and this whole area is like really kind of been transformed in that way.
Awesome. Okay, so that's downtown Providence, but then over on the side of Brown, we have Thayer Street, which is lots of local and also chain restaurants open as late as you want. So you see Baja's over here. Henry, do you want to tell them about Baja's?
Yeah, I will say, so in my first week here on campus from August 23rd to August 30th, I went to Baja's, I think 8 times. So that's my take on Baja's. It's pretty good. It's kind of like, I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with Chipotle. I think it's like a better Chipotle. Like they have burritos, yeah, that kind of cuisine. So it's pretty gas.
All right, get this man a sponsorship at Baja's. They have lots of places to get coffee and insomnia cookies. You can also see the science library here in the back. It's probably the ugliest building on campus, but the student athletes, and maybe that's a personal opinion, but the student athletes love studying there. And apparently each of the floors is colored like a pH strip, which is a fun fact that I have heard. All right, moving on. This is one angle of the main green, which is kind of the most recognizable brown landmark. This is actually a pretty rare photo because usually it's completely filled with people studying, playing Frisbee, tables set up for different clubs, totally bustling, especially when the weather's nice. Here's an example of one that's probably not bustling with people, but it is beautiful. So this is the quiet green, and these are the Van Winkle gates. Do any of you guys want to talk about the Van Winkle gates?
I can go ahead. So these are open twice a year. Once when freshmen enter into Brown, you see, so when you're a freshman, you line up along downtown Providence, you line up along, I think it's called Brown Street, and you are on College Hill and you walk through the gates. But then when I'm graduating in the spring, I'm going to be walking on the other side and walking to the city. So it's kind of Brown's way of saying, okay, so now you've been at our university, you've been through our college experience, now it's time to let you back out into the real world. So those are the 2 times the gates are open, but they're really beautiful and iconic.
Awesome. And this is also along the lines of what Haley was talking about. Graduation is huge on Brown's campus. And so there was a brief hiatus from it for COVID, but they're going to be back in full swing this year, I assume, with lots of outdoor parties surrounding the graduation, and lots of alums come back to celebrate each year. Here's another picture of the Van Winkle gates being open, a very rare sight, only twice a year. But this is what Haley was talking about with the graduating folks walking out into a parade of cheering people. It's a very exciting tradition. The last pre-COVID class, luckily going to start again, which we're excited about. Here's another quad. There's a lot of, this is a residential area. This is near where one of the all-you-can-eat dining halls is. We call it the Ratty. That's not its real name. It's called the Sharp Refectory. I have no idea where, does anyone know where the Ratty term came from? Yeah, maybe it's better. I don't know. I think the food's great. You'll definitely not go hungry here at Brown. There's all-you-can-eat dining on both sides of campus, as well as some other dining halls that offer more food by order, including wood-fired pizza. This is just one of the halls. It's really beautiful old buildings, and a lot of them are renovated on the inside. So they have, they're, the old buildings built in the 19th century, but some of them are modern, some of them are really beautiful. There's lots of different spaces for people to gather.
In sales, they have a organ. So that organ that's up there is like 150 years old, and it's one of the largest pipe organs in the country. And we have an organist on campus, and he plays a Halloween midnight concert every year.
So you'll have to plan ahead to be able to sleep in the day after Halloween. This is some of our, this is Pembroke campus. So this used to be where the women's college was located before. Oh, Henry is demonstrating it in real life.
I'm actually at Pembroke campus right now. Yeah, I'm outside of the tent, but it's a nice area.
Yeah, so this is where Andrew's dining hall is, where the wood-fired pizza is. Very residential on Brown. Most people live on campus. You're allowed to for all 4 years, but you can apply to live off campus as a junior or a senior. This is Andrew's, the dining hall that I was just talking about. All right, so this is our indoor track. Kurt, do you want to talk a little bit about our athletic facilities?
Yes, I can do that. So 200 flat indoor track. For the most part, we will train in here. We do have 1, sometimes 2 indoor meets depending on the year. The real unique piece for us as distance runners in here is that we can use kind of every lane that we need to. It's really easy. It's surveyed out. It's marked out. So Hannah and I don't have to be out with a wheel every time we need to figure out a distance on the outside lanes, but we can use different lanes for different distances and different laps. And that way it kind of thins out a little bit of the congestion when you have a lot of people working out at the same time. Our locker rooms are in this building. If we were kind of standing up where you see that guy's hands in the bottom right corner, the locker rooms are kind of underneath that or in behind that. So you walk out, we do a lot of our meeting pre and post runs and workouts in this building as well. And the surface is about 7 years old at this point. So it's still a relatively new surface, although you can see it's gotten a little bit of use with some of the lane lines, but they'll be restriped here in actually about a month or so. So by the time you guys are kind of back on campus next, it'll look shiny and new again. And then this is our outdoor track and our outdoor stadium. It's also the football stadium, but football only plays games here. So from our standpoint, it's really nice. That means that football is only there about 5-6 times a year, so we don't have to compete with them too often. They have a different practice facility. It's about 1,000 meters from campus, tucked away a little bit more, same, that kind of residential, as you can see, residential part of the east side of Providence. Being 1,000 meters away, it's usually pretty quiet from other athletes, so it's easy for us to get on and use it. And then we also have some road and temple loops that are really close to the stadium as well. So when it's nice out and we can kind of meet on the track, do our drills, do our strides, and then head out onto the roads if we need to. Or for some of you middle distance athletes, we can use some hills that are really nearby as well. So we'll go back and forth with that. And Henry's been experiencing a little bit of those hills as we've been getting him used to the way that we kind of train as well. So that's the stadium, and there's another picture of it as well. You can kind of see the throwing facility over there. That hill, it looks much smaller from this angle, I think. Henry, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, from this angle, not sure if that really does it complete justice, but it's pretty tough.
And then this is our weight room. And so our weight room is located in the building right next to our indoor track, and also where the locker rooms are. So really easy and convenient access for us there. The weight room is relatively new again. It's in a new building in an area that used to be kind of like a parking lot. We've got a lot of squat racks and power racks that you have in there. There's also, we'll get to this slide here, where we've got a little bit of turf where we can do a little bit of, med ball, more mobility kind of movements and stuff like that. So we're able to get everything that we need in the weight room. We're in there usually about 2 days a week. Sometimes it's one, depending on what we're trying to do when it comes to race weeks and that sort of thing. And then also connected to the building, as we see here, is the pool. And so we do use the pool a little bit, hopefully not a ton. Typically it's just if you're a little bit beat up or sore, but we're really lucky to have pretty accommodating pool hours. It's pretty easy to get in the pool whenever you need to. There's lots of hours, not always during our practice hours, unfortunately, sometimes, but it's pretty easy to get in. We never have to really fight to get into the pool. So having that available is really nice. And then here's our training room, and the training room is just off of the indoor track. So it's in the same building as the indoor track and the locker rooms. And this is where, we'll do everything that we need to kind of stay healthy. So you'll meet the trainers, there's an AlterG, the cold tubs, hot tubs, ice bags, heating packs, all that kind of stuff. Say you had surgery, well, hopefully not, but you do your checkups. A lot of your checkups you can do in the training room as well. The doctors come in and will actually meet you in the training room. So it keeps everything pretty easy and convenient for you all when it comes to that sort of thing, keep you healthy and ready to train.
Okay, so I know we are moving a little bit slower than I anticipated, so we'll kind of rush through the next couple slides, but here's just a overview of who's on staff with us. We actually have 2 Olympians on staff. Coach Kinsley, who was an NCAA champion and a Brown student athlete here, who went on to be an Olympian in the javelin. And then Coach Gabu in the bottom left-hand corner, he represented Zimbabwe in the 100 meters. And then you can see Kurt and I here on the sides, and then Coach Ken Hunt, who is our current program director, and he also coaches the jumps and multis. So it's a great coaching staff, and they're always available for chatting and sharing some wisdom. And then just to kind of briefly go through this, Brown has definitely had a presence at the NCAA championships. You can see a selection of some of the folks who have represented Brown at a national level in NCAA Division I competition. The bottom right here is Coach Kinsley, who's works with our throwers now. He was a national champion for us. But yeah, you can see there's been a lot of folks. This team up in the top left is a DMR team that qualified for nationals and placed 9th at NCAAs just a couple years ago, 2018. And so yeah, definitely no limit to what you can accomplish as a Brown student athlete. And we're really excited. We have a lot of changes that have been happening in the administration that has definitely made Brown have the ability to be even more competitive than it's been in the past. So a lot of exciting changes going on right now. And I believe that's it for this, for the slideshow. All right, so we're going to move into a brief period of Q&A. And so I'm going to start with, now I know Coach Kurt has to head out. Do you have any last minute thoughts, Kurt, to share, folks?
Nothing major, just again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for enjoying. Now that we're in the question and answer period, you know, please feel comfortable asking those questions again. And if something comes up, you know, after the fact, you know, reach out to Hannah or myself, and we're more than happy to answer those questions. But, you know, again, thanks for tuning in. Good night, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna, just to respect the student athletes' time, because they are in exam week this week, I'll ask a couple questions that we heard from you in the past or in the Google form. So the question that I got the most often was, you know, what is the team dynamic like? What is the culture like? I think if one or multiple of you wants to speak a little bit on that, that would be awesome. Also, like, what does the team do outside of practicing and racing together?
I can start with that one. So I would describe the team dynamic as being really unique in that we, for one, get to train with, it's co-ed, men's and women's team, we usually train together, which I think is really awesome, and that we both get to push each other and we get to just form relationship with more people as well. I'd say that we're all really supportive of one another, and we all want each other to succeed, because at the end of the day, we are representing the Brown name and we want the Brown team to do really well. We're very focused in practice. We like to have fun, of course, but I'd say that the team dynamic is really supportive, is really passionate about what we do, and we're really just genuine people who want to get to know each other better and want to just be better runners as well. Outside of practice, we do have a lot of team dinners. I mean, last night we did have Canadian Thanksgiving, which was so much fun, and it was just a great bonding experience. We also played kickball over preseason, which was a ton of fun as well. I got way too competitive, but that's what you do, I guess, during kickball and preseason. But I would just say the team dynamic is really positive, really genuine, and I've just been so happy being part of this team.
Yeah, just to add on to that, it's definitely a pretty close-knit team. I mean, I'm only a first year, but in like the 6 or 7 weeks or so that I've been here, I've definitely made, like, I would say the majority of my close friends to the team. Some stuff we do outside of the team, like within the I think our 4th day here, we like all went to the beach at night and just like went swimming, and that was a lot of fun. Last night we actually went to Dave & Buster's at this Providence Place, which is like the mall about a mile away from campus. So kind of just like some random stuff. Like Haley said, like a lot of team dinners, that kind of thing. And as far as like culture goes, it's also definitely, I think, been like super helpful to be part of a team that like all wants to succeed together. Because like, at least for me, like the high school I came from, you know, I had good friends in the team, but it wasn't exactly very like competitive and have like very many training partners. And I think here, like having a group of people to run with who are all like super driven has been super helpful, and just like seeing my own improvement. Because honestly, like when I first got on campus, I was extremely out of shape. I remember there was this one like progression you're supposed to do, and I dropped out after the first mile. And I remember Coach Hannah was maybe a little bit concerned at the time, But within 3 weeks, I was able to PR on the 5K and cross country by, I think for me, it was like 14 seconds or so. So you definitely see improvement pretty quick. And I think a lot of that is just due to like the team culture and everyone being super tight and want to succeed together.
Love it. Thanks. Okay, Duke, I'm going to ask you a question. So a lot of folks were interested in how folks manage their academics and Division I athletics. And then along with that, if you want to kind of tie in, you're doing a dual degree with RISD, so the Rhode Island School of Design. And a lot of folks are doing both a STEM concentration and more of an artistic concentration at the same time. So talk a little bit about what that has been like at Brown as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first major thing that really makes academics possible is the fact that the team is really flexible in terms of scheduling. And so like initial practice schedules are all set on like sort of people's classes and availability. And it's really something where like if there's a class that you are dead set on taking, like the program is willing to accommodate that. And generally it's something where, because there are only so many time slots at Brown, that like even if it means that on a day you have a run with a smaller group of people who are also taking a class, like that's something where we absolutely have the flexibility to make it work. As far as my own experiences with the like balancing academics and everything, I think it's definitely been something where you learn to prioritize ruthlessly, and you pretty quickly learn that like, okay, when it's time to sit down and do something, then you know, you get to it. But I think that like ultimately one of the most rewarding parts of being on the team is sort of like understanding that there is a broader group of people who are you know, aligned in that perspective, and sort of like a lot of times people study together and people will be in classes together. I think I have at least one teammate from the broader track team in every single one of my classes this term, and it's always great to have people you know, supporting you in that way. As far as the whole RISD side of things is concerned, Brown offers several programs that, so for any Brown student, you're allowed to take up to 4 RISD courses to count towards your degree. And then there are a variety of courses in architecture, in art history, in film, and a couple others I'm sure I'm forgetting, where you have basically just like full access to RISD. And so those are opportunities for you to really dive deeply into studio work and sort of like other creative pursuits. And I could talk about that for forever, but if anyone has any specific questions about sort of like how the Brown RISD combination works, I'm happy to answer those, and Hannah can forward on my email.
Yeah, and if any of the panelists feel comfortable sharing an email, if folks want to reach out, you're free to drop that in the chat, no pressure. But yeah, folks can always email me if you want to talk to any of these student athletes. I can get you guys connected. Before I let the student athletes go, do you guys have any closing thoughts for folks, or any kind of high-level overview of why you ultimately decided to come to Brown?
I can go ahead. So I'd say for me, I chose Brown for a number of reasons. One of them being just the fact that Brown is a very collaborative, open place, where I think that I was talking with one of my friends about this the other day, that I think there's no wrong way or no right way to do Brown. I mean, I'm economics contrary. You heard Duke, he's RISD dual degree, and we both found our places on the cross country team. And I think Brown is a really unique place in that everyone has their own passions, their own things that they're really good at and what they want to do. And Brown gives you the place to thrive. And I think open curriculum is really unique in that you can really explore your passions and do what it is that you're interested in. I didn't know I'd be interested in public health, but I'm taking a lot of classes in that department. And without the open curriculum, I wouldn't be able to do that. You're also able to do a lot of other things outside of Brown, or outside of being on the cross country team as well. I have found people in all different parts of the world, all different majors, concentrations, and schools of thought. And I think that Brown is a really unique place in that you get to have a lot of really deep intellectual academic conversations. And I still get to, you know, run every day and be surrounded by these amazing people. So I think it's an amazing opportunity if you get to come here. I've greatly enjoyed my time and would highly advocate that you look here seriously.
Yeah, just to kind of echo that, I think for me, like Brown really just checked all of the boxes. I think one important thing to consider when you're looking at schools is like if you would be happy theoretically at the school, like without whatever your respective sport is. And I think like, you know, it's pretty rare to find I think a school of this caliber with like this kind of like collaborative environment. And that kind of sounds like a bit of a cliche, but it's definitely held true. Like I think everybody here is really here to help you. And I think like for me, one thing I consider is like location wise, I thought it was pretty ideal. You know, I think you're not like super overwhelmed by like a city, but at the same time, like you have a lot going around. There's like, you know, a beach 20 minutes away, like Boston, it's like a 40-minute train ride away. You know, skiing, whatever you're into is not too far. And I guess like everybody's balance is a little different, but for me, like I found that to be the pretty perfect balance. And, you know, additionally, like just the team seemed really close. I mean, I was doing everything virtually, so it was a little hard to examine things, but it's like from my perspective, everything looks just looked amazing. And I also, one of my teammates just sat down. We talked about Bajas earlier. I just want to give her a quick shout out. This is Iso. See her some Bajas with her right now. I think it's her first time going. I think she's really enjoying it. So I just wanted to give her a quick shout out.
Awesome. Yeah. And sort of to touch on more broadly, reasons why I chose Brown. I think coming out of high school, I was interested in pursuing architecture and music and running, and all three of those things are usually things that you have to pick one and do it in sort of like a very hyper-focused and like monotonous way. And Brown was really kind of the only environment in which I was able to do all three. So I'm studying architecture in the orchestra on the team, and like others have said, it really just is like when the environment's so collaborative and so flexible, you really can, you know, with some discipline, accomplish whatever you're interested in. And that's just like an incredible experience that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
I love it. Thank you so much, you guys. I know you have lots of studying and relaxing to do, so feel free to hop out if you need to. And I'm just going to quickly wrap things up here. Really encourage folks on the call to apply early decision. That's definitely the timeline that we operate on for recruiting in the Ivy League. For Brown, the early decision acceptance rate jumps from 5% to 17% compared with regular decision. So it's definitely a smart decision to apply early decision if you do know that Brown is a place where you can see yourself for the next 4 years. A little insider tip to the application, definitely do that 2-minute optional video interview, I believe it's called. That's something that admissions has time and time again said is really important for your application. And that's something you can just kind of let your personality show. It doesn't have to be expertly edited video, although I'm sure Duke would be able to expertly edit any kind of video. But most of us are just shooting with an iPhone, and that's totally fine. So if you have like some clips of you running, potentially, if you are involved with other campus organizations at your high school, that kind of thing, feel free to include that stuff. Any hardships that you've overcome or interesting stories or travels that you've gone on, that's something that you can highlight there in that short video. So that's something that they really encourage. And yeah, as far as academic requirements, I mean, the Ivy League is pretty brutal in the application process. So definitely if you have any specific questions, reach out. I'm not able to predict necessarily what your chances of getting accepted are, but I can definitely point you in the right direction as far as things that I've found works well with folks. And yeah, I guess the main thing that we're looking for right now is just athletes who are gritty and who really want to come and fight every step of the way and make sure that they are not the type of athlete that just wants to, you know, give up. We've been talking about this a lot in races. We want athletes who are really, really determined to get the most out of themselves. And in distance running, that's going to take you really, really far. So if there's one thing that we're most looking for in a prospective student athlete, it's somebody who is willing to like dive all in and also be a team player. You've heard the word collaborative over and over again, and that's something that's very Brown, something that's very important to us. So that's just kind of a brief overview of the recruiting process, but like I said, reach out to any of the panelists, reach out to me. I'm going to drop the link to the financial aid calculator in the chat here really quick. And that's going to be really helpful to see if this is feasible for your family. But yeah, always available for any questions. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon. Goodbye.